Finally tonight, Chairman Michael Steele of the Republican National Committee says his party can retool its message and sell it to a broader base by recasting its culture war issues as lessons in pocketbook economy. For instance, he now says if it paints gay marriage as an attack on small business because they'd have to pay more health care, because all those gay partners would suddenly be gay husbands and gay wives and legally designated gay beneficiaries. Our number one story, what the... Now, all of a sudden, Steele warns, I've got someone who wasn't a spouse before, that I had no responsibility for, who is now getting claimed as a spouse that I now have financial responsibility for. So how do I pay for that? Who pays for that? You just cost me money. You want to sell opposition to gay marriage on economic grounds as a kind of drag on small business? Mr. Steele, in this country, weddings are a $70 billion a year industry. Billion as in Bridezilla. $70 billion. Most of it spread among local florists, local jewelers, local caterers, local photographers, local hotels, local restaurants, local bridal stores. Admittedly, the number of wedding gowns ordered when two men get married is usually zero. But think of the all-women weddings with 2 gowns and 2 sets of bridesmaids. Seriously, legalizing gay marriage is, in fact, a really simple-to-understand gold mine, especially in terms of jump-starting a lousy economy like, say, the one you Republicans gave us, the one that is doing a lot of more harm to the small businessman right now than would a minor increase in spousal benefits. There is a reason that a lot of conservatives in California opposed Prop 8 last year. Before the rights of same-sex couples were repealed there, UCLA had published a study calculating that just in California, the wedding business in the state was going to explode by $684 million over 3 years. Same-sex marriage would have created 2,200 new jobs just in California. Same-sex marriage would have created $64 million in additional state tax revenues just in California. Same-sex marriage would have created $9 million just in lousy county marriage license fees just in California. 5 years ago, Forbes did an amazing set of extrapolations as to what nationwide same-sex marriages would mean for the economy, based on the calculation that there would be 464,000 additional hitchings. Reception, catering, and wedding planning up $4.7 billion, $153 million of that just to the wedding planners. Wedding gift purchases, $3.94 billion. Honeymoons, $1.7 billion. Engagement rings, $1.66 billion. Wedding gowns and other apparel, $1.3 billion. Photography and video, an even billion. Flora and decor, another $816 million. Music and entertainment, $659 million. Wedding bands, $604 million. Invitations and stationery, $217 million. Cakes, $197 million. Total increase in our gross national wedding product, $16.8 billion. $16.8 billion. My God, Steele, it's a stimulus package. Not only am I surprised you're trying to kill it as a drain on small businesses, but at these rates, I'm shocked you Republicans didn't try to make it mandatory. As usual, he's Michael, hey, I just thought of this, Steele. And he's so wrong as to be laughable. The stationers of America, as we move further and further away from the printed page, they are dropping like flies. And you're going to sell them on the new revitalized GOP by explaining to them how great banning same-sex marriage is for small business. And oh, by the way, they can't have the $217 million more a year that same-sex weddings would bring them. It's genius. Genius, I tell you. In fact, there is such a fabulous brain pulsing under the notable Steele skull that I'm sure this is just the start of social issues which he can camouflage as economics without thinking the whole thing through 100% of the way. Well, thinking it through 75% of the way, 50 at all. For instance, we in the Republican Party should oppose increased spending on education because if you have a better educated American kid, think how much more hiring him will cost America's small businessmen in the future. We in the GOP say, keep them stupid. They cost less that way. I mean, McDonald's must be doing something right. We cannot engage Iran or these other evildoers, of course. My goodness, don't you understand? Without war, there are no military procurement contracts. How then do you expect small business to thrive in this country if the small businessmen cannot dream of becoming somebody like the next Halliburton or Blackwater USA guy? And think of the savings if we just eliminated government altogether. No taxes, no fees of any kind. Maybe a parking permit, a little tag you could wear on your trunks for the municipal swimming pool. But just imagine if everybody got to keep 99.9% of their income. Now, admittedly, the power grid would collapse within hours, and crime would quadruple by midnight, and we'd be invaded by every nation up to and including Liechtenstein before Friday. But you don't think there'd be a zero-tolerance policy on government would do the Republicans wonders at the polls? Lastly, of course, there is the one specious argument Mr. Steele seems to be making without trying. Why bother to spend money searching for thoughtful leaders or candidates for the Republican Party? I mean, sure, there are disadvantages to shrinking the GOP to the dimensions and the geographic scope of the American Independent Party that George Wallace led 40 years ago. But think of the savings. And this wouldn't be one of those silly Karl Rove permanent Republican majority promises, ludicrous and never to be fulfilled. The Michael Steele permanent Republican minority? All you need for that is to get rid of all those expensive real Republican leaders and get some egomaniacal clowns who'll do it for peanuts, just for the publicity, to lead the way. Like, you know, Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich and Dick Cheney and Michael Steele. Oh, yeah, you're doing that already. They'd be worth $16.8 billion a year to the economy, but same-sex marriage would hurt small business. What the... That's countdown for this, the 2,209th day since the previous president declared mission accomplished in Iraq. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck.